I'm going to talk about basically several projects which I have been working on. The first one is journalistic imagination. I had this strange idea last year. What are people thinking when they think about journalism? So I did a study which is almost done. So I want to share the initial findings with you, which is kind of related to media accountability. The second thing, in Hong Kong there are several major public universities. The oldest one is Hong Kong University. They have a public opinion program which publishes survey findings almost every month. And they have done quite a lot, and I will talk about this, their surveys a little bit, which touches on also media accountability. The third thing, my colleagues and I have done surveys about the Hong Kong journalists in the past 20 years. We did it once every 5 years. So it's a continuous data. We also talk about a little bit of media ethics, etc. And then the Hong Kong Press Freedom Index. We devised this Press Freedom Index 5 years ago, and we do it every year, which also is kind of related to accountability, responsibility, ethics, and of course press freedom as well. Okay. As I said, we don't have very direct, relevant studies on media accountability in Hong Kong, as far as I know. So I have to kind of attack this concept in an indirect way. And the Hong Kong is quite unique in the sense that it is the place where the East meets the West. It is, probably most of you have heard of one country, two systems. Hong Kong is practicing something called one country, two systems. Hong Kong was a British colony for 150 years and was returned to China in 1997, 21 years ago. So we have this one country, two systems. So in Hong Kong, you see the Chinese values and the British or Western practices coexisting together. And I'm going to talk about different projects, as I said earlier. Some are current projects, some are ongoing. Some of them I have been involved in, like the Hong Kong Press Press Freedom Index, and also as Dominic said, I am one of the executive members of the Hong Kong Press Council and other organizations as well. Okay, I did a kind of interesting project and also comparing not looking only at Hong Kong, but comparing East and West, the conceptualization of journalism from a more Chinese perspective and a generally Western perspective. I want to understand how people think about journalism, and in those concepts related to journalism, are there some of them related to media ethics, accountability? I started from zero. I did not have any preconceptions. I just wanted to know how people think about it. So, and trying to compare Chinese journalism and Western journalism. So the method, I used content analysis. And I collected a lot of news quotes from various sources. News quotes online, from books, from news organizations, etc. A lot, thousands. And then I tried to screen out those which are not very relevant. And I still have hundreds of them. And so I use these news quotes as my data. I look at the frequencies of words, and I look at the linkages among those more frequently used words, and try to create a map, which is kind of complicated map. All right. The data, I don't want to go into details. I got data from mainland China, from Hong Kong. Oh, this is about the Chinese news quotes first. The English ones later, okay? All right. When we talk about journalism, these are the most frequently used words. Of course, reporter or journalist, news, journalism, society, fact, public, newspaper, people, etc. These are the most frequently used words. And then there are 21 words I find most relevant. And then I use factor analysis and had 10 factors. You can see number 4 and number 9. Number 4 is society, responsibility, freedom. Number 9 is ethics. They are kind of related to the idea of accountability. And this is just an example. News journalism, it is statistically associated with a number of things like newspaper and fact and so on. Okay, then I have drawn a map using these 21 words, and I constructed or kind of identified 3 groups of words. One is about journalism itself, its function, its role, and then social role and linkage. How journalism is related to which bigger concepts. Finally, values and standards, which may be related to the concept of accountability. All right? Okay, this one is a huge one. You can see the size of the circle is related to the frequency. And then the lines, the thickness of the lines reflects the correlation. And you can see there are 3 groups, one in blue, one in orange, one in green. Unfortunately, I would say, about values and standards, only 3: ethics, freedom, and responsibility. This is from the Chinese data. Okay, the English data somewhat different. Okay, you can see here some very interesting thing. For the Chinese context, we stress on history. Journalism is a record of history. You can see record, history. It's a calling. It's the piece of work you did. So these are quite unique, not found in the English data. And then public opinion, nation, and people and public. This is a separate concept, especially after 1949. The Communist Party liked to use the word people. It's not public. So it is a subtle difference there. Okay, East and West. For the English or Western data, I have selected 631 posts. Basically the same methodology basically from online. There are lots of different people, politicians, celebrities, media owners, journalists, scholars, etc. The same thing, but you can see that also 21 words is by coincidence. 21 words, news journalism, newspaper, reporter, media, press, freedom, and so on. Okay, also 10 factors. Well, this is kind of a coincidence. And then number 5, number 7, number 8 might be more related to the concept of accountability here. All right, again, the map is somewhat different in a sense that also 3 groups, but you can see the green group is really more elaborated. Not only we have responsibility, freedom, and ethics, we have quality, we have profession, we have accuracy, and credibility. Yeah, so it's more kind of refined and more broad in the scope. Yeah, and then we don't have calling, we don't have history, but look at the the orange group. We have government, we have democracy, we have power. These 3 concepts are missing in the Chinese data. So you can see that the Chinese conceptualization of journalism and the English one are quite different. So it seems that media accountability is more related to the concept of course, responsibility and credibility, and less to ethics, professional quality, accuracy, freedom. It's a matter of degree. And then, as I said, the Chinese data and the English data, they are somewhat different, and of course, some similarities as well. The Chinese data, we can see ethics, responsibility, and freedom, but the English one more on accuracy, profession, quality, and credibility. But again, responsibility is a common theme. Okay, actually, apart from content analyzing these news quotes, I have been doing a survey. I picked 80 of these quotes and have been doing a survey of first, journalists, second, the public, and third, university journalism students, and try to compare their responses, which have not been done yet. And also I will look further and expand the part on ethics, standards, and values, and include other more related concepts into it, and see whether there are other related concepts as well. So the second level concepts, which I kind of identified now: honest, objective, right, able, ability, lies, money, stupid, which I'm trying to create another map using these concepts later. Okay, this is the first study I have been doing. The second one is, as I said, the Hong Kong University, they have a public opinion program established almost 30 years ago. They collect opinions continuously. It's non-profit. And they cover lots of different topics, like on the government, the political parties, social indicators, public's confidence, attention, identity, lots of different things. And among them, they also monitor media performance, including very different types of media and overall media credibility, press freedom, satisfaction, exercise of misuse of press freedom, and degree of doing responsible reporting. These are kind of related to our theme of accountability and performance, in fact. Media constraints, media self-censorship, whether the journalists feel that they are apprehensive in criticizing the government. We have two governments in Hong Kong. One is the local Hong Kong government. The other one is the central Beijing government. So we are talking about two governments in Hong Kong after the handover. Okay, just some quick findings for you. Overall media performance in Hong Kong is related to basically several things. The ones highlighted in blue: degree of doing responsible reporting and media credibility. These are important, as media credibility is also related to responsible reporting and overall media performance satisfaction. So you can see the major the cluster is there. Okay, so from the data by the Hong Kong U program, media accountability is highly related to the notions of responsibility, credibility, and performance satisfaction. And media self-censorship is a very important theme in Hong Kong in the past 20 years. It's growing, and in fact, probably in China you talk about censorship. In Hong Kong we talk about self-censorship. We have also done journalist surveys once every 5 years. First started in 1990, and then in 96, 2001, 2006, 2011, and 2016. We covered all the news organizations and almost all journalists, except those in photography and sports and entertainment. So we asked different types of questions, and about problematic news practices. We asked journalists to evaluate their views on these behavior and whether they approve it or not. And also the media's social functions and performance in the context of Hong Kong. And finally, comparing the effectiveness of different public opinion channels, the newspaper, radio phone-in program, as well as non-media channels like opinion surveys done by universities, public demonstration. The government is also included here. As I said, the ethical or unethical practices, behaviors, and the functions of the news media and the performance is kind of related to media accountability as well. And because we have a longitudinal data for the past 20 years, it's interesting to see the changes in different aspects of these variables. Okay, another one is the Hong Kong Press Freedom Index, which was, I would say, inspired by the other surveys like Reporters Without Borders and the Freedom House, as well as others. I also took some inspiration from the African survey as well. So we started in 2013 and do it on a yearly basis and constructed the index by means of annual surveys of both the general public and the journalists. We do it every year. So we ask 10 questions. Whether they are apprehensive in criticizing the government, the Hong Kong government, the Chinese government, and the big business, as well as self-censorship, pressure from media owners, personal threats, difficulty in getting information, enough legal protection, diversity, etc. 10 questions, and the index is from 0 to 100. Well, you can see the public and the journalists, they differ in terms of the most important factors. The public think self-censorship is there, number one, in both groups. But then the public think that whether monitoring effectiveness and personal threat are important, but journalists think differently. So they think the central government and the media owners are the bigger threats. So these are the summary findings in the past 5 years. You can see the public score is always higher than the journalist score. Journalists also always think that they are doing worse. And the changes, you can see the red one minus 3.1 in 2014. That was the year of the umbrella movement. Yeah, so you can see why. Yeah. Things are a little bit better, but still worse than 2013. Okay, so in the Hong Kong context, media accountability may be related to apprehension in criticizing the government as well as self-censorship. Okay, probably I'll skip this part, which is not that important. I just want to show you we have a number of professional organizations, including the Press Council and different news organizations representing the owners, the frontline reporters, as well as the editors. Okay, finally, let me summarize very briefly. Media accountability is mainly about responsibility. And there are different factors, different contexts, different actors involved. And then if you compare different societies, it is quite difficult as we discussed. But if we look at one society, try to find the major characteristics of that society, Hong Kong as an example, I would say in Hong Kong, responsibility is important, credibility, satisfaction of performance, self-censorship. They come up from different projects. They always come up. So we can we are quite confident to say that these are the variables we want to look at. If we want to do some quantitative surveys or do some comparison. Okay, then that's the end of it. Thank you very much.